I'd like to talk to you for a minute about configuring channel endpoints for the MultiWii flight controller on the FrSky Taranis transmitter. You're probably used to thinking about RC channels as going from -100 to 100. You know, where 0 is centered, -100 is, say, all the way rolled to the left, +100 is all the way rolled to the right, something like that. And that's a useful abstraction, but in reality, the channels are pulse width modulated signals, electrical signals, and the width of the pulse is what determines the servo position or the channel position. And that pulse width can vary. In most cases, we don't really care what the absolute value of the pulse width is. We just set our trims and our endpoints so that the servo ends up where it needs to be. And if for one servo full travel is 2,000 microseconds pulse width, and for one servo full travel is 1,900 microseconds pulse width, it doesn't matter. We just set our endpoints where they need to be. But for a flight controller like the MultiWii, it expects a specific pulse width from the transmitter to operate properly. And the MultiWii, I'm not sure if this is universal across all MultiWiis, but I've got the MultiWii Flip 1.5. It expects a pulse width of 1,000 to 2,000, with 1,500 being the center. So how do we get that out of the controller, and what kind of problems can occur if it's not set up right? Well, for example, to arm the board, you put your left stick for a Mode 2 transmitter. You'll put your left stick all the way down, so throttle all the way down, and then all the way to the right to arm the board. And that's fine. But if your endpoints are set so that the channel doesn't get low enough, then MultiWii will detect that you're not at the bottom of your throttle, and it won't arm the board. So a lot of people have trouble where they can't get the board to arm, and it's because their endpoints aren't wide enough and the channel isn't going low enough. So how do we get the Taranis to do what we want then? Let me go over here to the simulator, and I'll press Menu, and then I'm going to page over to the servos screen. And you'll see that on the servos screen, for the channel that I've got selected, it's showing the pulse width up at the top of the screen in microseconds. And this is fantastic because we can see exactly what we're sending. So the midpoint of the channel is specified over here, and that's 1,500 microseconds, which is what we want. That's what MultiWii wants, and that's the default. And we can then adjust these settings, the endpoints, and we want to adjust those settings till we get a travel, or a pulse width rather, of 1,000 at the one extreme and 2,000 at the other extreme. So let's just take the throttle. The throttle's all the way down, and I have tweaked. Here, let me press enter. We'll go over here to the minimum, and you'll see that my throttle's all the way down, and as I tweak this value, I can change the pulse width, right, up and down. So I tweak it up and down until I get to 1,000 at the bottom. Now I'm going to push the stick all the way up. I'm going to hit exit. I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to tweak that value till I get 2,000 at the top. And you can see that for my transmitter, and I'll bet this is going to be true for basically all Taranises. A pulse width of 1,000 to 2,000 is achieved with about 97.7 to 97.8%. So it looks like the Taranis by default has a slightly wider travel range. So there you go. Set those values to 97.7, 97.8, or whatever value gives you 1,000 to 2,000 at the extremes of the travel. And then your flight controller is going to see what it expects to see when you move your sticks, and things are going to work nicely. All right. Well, hope that was helpful. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye-bye.